Okay, so before you start using Windows Movie Maker, you need to install it. Your teacher will show you where, but somewhere on one of the school drives there'll either be the Windows 7 or the Windows 8 version. All you need to do is to double click on the correct one for you, and the program will jump off to the internet, download the latest version and install it on your laptop. When you open Windows Movie Maker, this is what the screen looks like. There's nothing going on at the moment, but you'll see that it's got a tabbed environment, the same as you find in things like Microsoft Word. So you've got various tabs, and you will find later on as we go through this tutorial that there's extra tabs appear depending upon what you're doing. Before you start actually bringing any photos and videos in though, it's really worth making up a folder for where you're going to save everything, and that'll become clearer in a moment. But if I just show you, I've got a little folder here that I've put on my desktop, and I've got some photos and some videos within it. I'm going to keep all my work in this place. So what I'm going to do now, I've got my folder set up. I'm going to bring some data in that I'm going to use. So I'm going to click on this tab here. Now I could, if I want to, click onto this one. It does exactly the same job. So I'm going to click up here and I'm going to add in some videos. Now on my desktop, if I go to my desktop, I've got my folder, and inside my folder I've got some things. So if I click on the first one and then I hold down and I shift click, I can select all those in one go, and I'm going to just say open. Now they get dragged in and they appear in what's basically called the storyboard, and you can see down the bottom left here it says that Movie Maker's preparing my files. It's bringing them all in, and you can see the little time thing on at the moment. It's turning them into the kind of files that it can handle. Now we're ready to go. You can even see on the background of these clips this kind of jagged effect. That's showing that there's audio on this video files, and you see the difference between the pictures and the video. These are picture files, these are video files. They've got different kind of edges to them to let you tell what they are. And you also see that when you hover over any of these clips, you get this information window that pops up. So this one's saying cows.mts, that's the name of the video clip. The duration is how long it goes for, and it's saying things like transition, pan and zoom, effects and speed. Now all of these have got no effects put on them at all yet because we've just brought them in. Okay, in terms of the interface, there's a few things worth looking at. At the moment, the clips here are shown over a certain duration of time. If I go down to this zoom control at the bottom, all it does is it actually, if I'm making this less, it's dragging these clips to make them smaller in terms of me looking at them. The actual duration of the clip's the same. So if that first one's 16 seconds, it's still going to be 16 seconds, but I'm looking at it in a lesser scale. So it looks like I can fit more things onto my actual area here. I can even go into the view over here and I can change the thumbnail size. So if I want to go for larger icons, I can improve it this way. In the same way, I get a preview window over on the side here. So if I click onto my first one and click on my play button, I can preview the video. And you'll notice a few things when we do this. We've got a slider here, and we've got a black slider here, and they're the same thing. So I can come over here and I can drag across my clip here to get to where I want. This is called scrubbing. Or I can grab it here and I can move and do the same thing. And we're going to need to do this later on to do some editing. The other thing you can do on this preview window, you can go full screen by clicking here. I'm not going to do that now, but you may grab this section and drag, and you can resize the difference between your preview window and your storyboard view by sliding that across. In this same window, if you don't like seeing this jagged effect of the waveform which is on the video, you can simply come up here and you can click and take that waveform off so it doesn't show them in your project. That gives you a cleaner look to what you're actually previewing. If I go back to my home tab, I can also do things like move the various videos and photographs around. So if I don't want this one here, I could drag it down, and you can see it puts a bar in where it's going to do the insertion. And the same here, I might grab one of these and drop it up in between these two videos, and now I've got a collection that's been rearranged. Before I go any further, I'm going to save my project now. So there's a few ways I can do that. The easiest one is just to come up to here and click on the Save Project icon. And again, I'm going to go back to the same place I was in. I was on my desktop, and I was in my Windows Live Movie Maker folder. And I'm going to call this one, I'm going to call it Year 10 Camp, because that's what some of these photos and videos are from. And I'm going to hit Save. Now the reason I talked earlier about putting everything in the same folder is I want to show you something. So I'm going to minimize this a moment, and I'm going to go into that folder, and you can see now I've got a new icon there, and if I hover over it, it tells me that it's 6.78 kilobytes. So it's a tiny little file. But any of these videos alone, if I hover over them, will tell me that one is 23 megabytes on its own. So I know from that this project doesn't have these files embedded inside it. What it does mean is that it has to know where all these videos and these files are. So at a later date, if you decided to delete any of those videos or photos, or if you moved them somewhere else, or if you renamed them, when you open this project, it won't open properly. It won't know where those files are because it will think that they're missing. If I look at this photograph, it tells me that the duration of it is 7 seconds, and the default for any photo you put into your Movie Maker project is 7 seconds. If you don't like that, you can click on the photograph, and under the edit here, you see it says 7 seconds. So if you only want it to show for maybe 3 or 4 seconds, you can choose this feature, and now it will actually change so that will only be on screen. It'll only be viewed when you preview it for 3 seconds. Time to start doing some editing. So the first thing we're going to look at, we're in the Home tab. I'm going to click on Title. When I choose Title, it puts in a black background and it puts some default text in. It's taken the text from the name of the project up here, what I actually called it in the first place. All I'm going to do to that is I'm just going to change that editor a little bit more. I could put whatever I wanted to do in here, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to maybe change some things about it. So at the moment, I don't like a black background. I'm going to go for a different kind of color background, and on the text itself I'm going to edit the color of that by changing over here to something better. So maybe we'll try a dark blue instead. I can change anything else the same as I would in Word, change the font sizes and so on. The other thing up here is effects, and there's a whole bunch of them, and if I hover over them, you can see how they're going to work. And you can see the timeline moves across here as I hover, so you can see it kind of playing that effect. And this default again is 7 seconds. There's more of them if I choose here. There's a whole bunch of them I can choose and see how they're going to work. But when I'm happy with one, when I've found the one that I want to use, maybe I'll use that one. Yeah, use that one. I just click it. And that now has been added, and at any point I want to preview, I just click over here and I can see the playhead moving across that clip, and it shows me what it looks like. Now again, if I'm not happy with the duration of that, I can click on it, and where it says text duration here, I just change that and make that a bit smaller, and you can see it's also done the same thing on the background clip. So I need to do the same with that. I need to go to the duration of the clip itself and change that to the same. Okay, and now that's all fixed up. Okay, I'm going to jump back to the home screen again. Now the difference between a title and a caption is that when I put a caption on, it actually doesn't change, it doesn't add a background, it puts it over an existing one. So I'm going to click on my photograph here, and I'm going to add a caption this time. So you can see it's put it in there, and you add it in, and I can write whatever I want there. I'm going to put going to put some writing in there, and again I've got options for how long anything takes to show. I've got options for putting effects on, exactly the same as I did the last time, but now this is basically maybe I will choose a scroll in. That'll do. This one has been added over the top of a photograph rather than adding a background in to start it off with. Again, it's on 7 seconds at the moment. I'm not going to bother changing this one, but I could do the same thing again. I'm going to jump back to my home screen, and the last one on there is credits. Now credits will be to do with things like the rolling credits at the end that says, this film was made by and whatever. So I'm going to go to the end here, and I'm going to add some credits in. And there's different sorts I can do, so you can say director and so on. We'll just say starring, and on my starring credits I could list them here as different names, so I'm going to make a few names up of the people who were involved in making this movie. And again, if I want to edit how it looks, I could change all that. I'm going to leave it as it is for now, and I'm just going to choose which type of scroll effect I'm going to go for. I'll just go upwards like this, I think. and that will be my credits at the end. So at the moment I've got a movie which has got some photos, some videos, it's got a starting point with some introductions, and at the end I've got a scrolling starring telling me who was actually in this movie. So it's highly possible that you might want to edit the video clips themselves. So I'm going to click on this video clip. At the moment it's telling me that that one is 10 seconds long. Sorry, 16 seconds long. It's starting 10 seconds into the project. And what I can do is at any point, if I want to edit this, I'm going to drag my cursor along to kind of the middle of that clip. If I go onto my edit tab, I've got various options on here. Now one that you might want to play with at some point is the actual speed. I'm not going to do that now, but you can actually slow it down or speed it up. So there might be a reason why you'd want to do that in your video to make it more interesting. But the kind of basic things you might want to do are to do with, maybe we'll look at the video volume first of all. So I'm going to click on here and I get a slider, and the slider obviously goes from very loud to no sound at all. So it might be that you actually want to mute the clip, and I'm going to mute some of my clips here because what I want to be able to do, I'm going to mute this one down to nothing, and I'm going to do the same on some of these other ones, is I'm going to put a background music over them. So I don't actually need to know what's going on in the clip because most of it is kind of just the noise of people moving around and boats splashing water. So they're all muted at the moment. I also might decide that I don't actually need all of that clip, so I might want to get rid of a little bit off the beginning or a little bit off the end, or might want to cut it in half in the middle. So we'll look at all of those things. So first of all, the trim tool. The trim tool works exactly the same as setting a start point or an end point. So if I clicked here and I decided that's where, at that position is where I want the video clip to start from, I would basically hit this button that says set start point, and it actually gets rid of the bit in front and starts from here. I'm going to undo that by clicking up here. Endpoint works in exactly the same way. If I go for the trim tool, it gives me the opportunity of actually doing both. So I can bring in my start point. So maybe I want to go a couple of seconds in, and I can drag to where I want it to go, or I can use the little things here, and the same at the end. So I've taken in effect the beginning off and the end off, and then when I'm happy with that I just hit save trim, and it does that automatically. The other option you've got is to actually cut something in half. So if we say wanted up to this point here, we could hit split. That now makes two separate clips, this one and this one, and if I don't want the second one, I either right click on it and hit remove, or I could press the delete button on my keyboard and get rid of it that way. There are a few other options on here. There's video stabilization. So if you've got some video that's a bit on the wobbly side, you see there's some options here for trying to correct that and make it a little bit more interesting. I'm not going to do that at the moment. These features up here, fade in and fade out, are basically to do with the volume, but for us at the moment, because I've switched the video volume all the way down to mute, they won't have any effect anyway. But that's to do with how loud or how quiet you want the music or the background sound to come in at or go out at. Next thing to look at is what comes under animations. So if we click on our animation pane up here, we'll see there's two different things. There's transitions and then there's pan and zoom effects. So basically a transition, as I mentioned earlier, is how you get from one photograph or video clip to the next one. So I'm going to click on the first one here, and I'm going to hover, and I'm going to look at some of the different options I've got. So this is actually coming into from my first frame, if you want to think of it that way, to my second one, and these are the different ways I can do it, and I'm going to pick one in a moment. Maybe I'll go for that one. Now you do see there's an option here for apply to all, so if I choose that, it'll apply it to everything that's on the page there, and there's also the duration, so it takes at the moment 1.5 seconds to perform that transition, and you can see now this triangle effect. And that triangle effect shows you where the transition starts and sort of finishes, how that goes through. If I change the duration of this, maybe I'll make it 1 second instead. That's affected what goes on with this transition effect now. And if I wanted to apply that transition to more than one clip, but not all of them, I can hold down Control, and by selecting 1, 2, 3, I could apply that particular transition effect to, or any particular effect to, more than one at the same time, but not necessarily all of them. So those three have got that effect on it now. Moving over to this right hand side, pan and zoom. Pan and zoom effects work well on photographs. Now if I'm going to choose this photograph here, pan and zoom shows what happens as I actually do something to one of these pictures. So if I want it to start off small and gradually get bigger, I'd choose this one. If I want to start in the right hand corner, small and get bigger, and so on. So these various effects, I'm going to choose one of them now just to see what it's like. So we've got an automatic one, or I can choose the ones that are panning only and the ones that use zoom only or zooming out. So it's up to me, and I can apply these any way I choose. But I'm gonna, maybe I'll go for which one shall I choose? I'll go for this one there and see what that looks like. So I'm going to apply that effect, and then I'm on that particular thing. You can see now that it has put that little square there, and it actually says pan and zoom, pan down along right. That's the one that's been placed on there. So I'm going to preview it and see what that looks like and how it works. And that's the kind of effect that's going on. So you give the appearance of motion within a particular effect. And if I want to change one of these effects or get rid of it altogether, as long as I've got my same photo or video selected, so in this case it was this one, I can come back up to here, and this time I can just choose none, and that will get rid of that effect. Or again, if I wanted to put a different one, I could choose a different effect. Okay, moving on, if we look at visual effects now, a visual effect is something that we can do to, say for instance, this video clip, and you can hover over them to see what they look like. Now this is my favourite one, edge detection, but any of these ones will give you a different effect put upon that video. And if you want to click on the down arrow here, you can see the categories they come under and the different sorts there are. And again, previewing them will show you what those things do. That's a very bizarre one, and so on. You can play with these for yourself. So for the minute, on that first clip, I'm going to apply this edge detection one, and I'm going to put it onto that video, and I can preview it down here to see what that's going to look like. Very, very strange. And you did see there was something called multiple effects. If you wanted to, you could apply more than one effect. And you've also got the opportunity here to change the brightness if you wanted to of a particular clip. So if we'll choose a different one and hit brightness, and you can see there's a slider scale there which will affect how it looks. I'm not going to do that at the moment. What I am going to do though is I'm going to resave my work because I haven't saved it for a while. So I'm going to click up here and hit save. Okay, so the reason earlier I muted all these clips was so I could put some music in over the background. So I'm actually going to go back to my home button here, and this time I'm going to go for add music. Now if I click on the drop down, there's various options that come up. There's places that you can get kind of free music and stuff from, or you can bring in music you've already got for yourself, and that's what I'm going to do in a moment. I'm going to go for this add music one, but there's also this one that says add music at the current point. So for instance, if I was actually over maybe here somewhere, and I'm going to bring my little arrow across to there. If I only wanted my music to play from this point onwards, I would go for the one that says add music at the current point. Okay, I don't want to do that this time, so I'm actually going to go right to the beginning and move so that my black bars are right at the beginning, so I know it's going to go in here, and I'm going to add my music. Now I've also got inside my folder on my desktop, I've moved a little music file in there. It's a Beyonce one called Halo. I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to click open, and now you'll see that on my clip it's placed this green bar in, and if I actually play it, hopefully you can hear it. So it's put that music in for me. And what it will have done is when it gets to this point here, which is the end of my video, which is, if I move my pointer across there, it will be right at 1 minute and 44 seconds. It will just cut that music off. Now I've got two options here. I can actually fade my music out to that point. So if I just move it back a little bit, and we'll see what it actually sounds like at the beginning. Now by luck that actually doesn't sound too bad, but what I could do is I could go into my music options here, So there's my music tools, and I've got the option of fading out and fading in. So fade out's at the end, so I could choose fade out and then decide how I'm going to fade it out. So that will have changed now how the ending of that little thing sounds, and it will have faded that volume out for me. The other option I've got is to go into the project settings, and under here there's something that says fit to music. Now if I choose fit to music, I will do that now. What it does is it basically stretches the duration of my photographs so that the whole thing now fits to the music track. So you can see now at the bottom here, this is changed to 4 minutes and 21 seconds. So it's jumped from something like just under 2 minutes to just over 4 minutes. And the only reason it's done that, or the way it's done that, is by changing these pictures. So you can see that photo now is showing for 37 seconds instead of 7. It's added all of those photographs. It doesn't change the video, just the photographs. Now that's something you might want to do for certain projects if you know that you want it to fit exactly to the music file, but probably for a lot of times you don't want to do that. So I'm going to actually undo that change and put it back to where it was, which is 1:44, and I'm quite happy with the fade out effect that I've got on my music. What a lot of you might want to do though is you might want to actually add your own narration over the top of something. So at the moment I've turned the volume off from the video, I've added a song over the background, but I want to do some talking as well. So I'm going to record my own narration. Before I do that, however, there's something that's always worth checking. I'm using at the moment a USB microphone that I've plugged in, and there's a bunch of those in school, and they give you a much better sound quality when you talk than the ones that are built into your laptop. You need to check that your software, that MovieMaker, knows that you're using this. So if you go to File and you go down to something called Options, inside Options you've got various things, and one of them says Audio and Video. And under here there's a drop down listing, and you can see that there's different types, and I've actually got mine switched on so it knows that in my USB socket 4 I've got a microphone plugged in, so it will use that as the source of my sound. So I'm happy now that it's going to record my narration. I'm going to click on a particular one, so I'll go for this first one, and I'm going to narrate something over there, and I'm going to choose record narration. I could add a sound, like a sound effect that comes from somewhere, maybe like a explosion noise or a bird cheeping or something like that, but I'm actually going to record my own voice. So I'm going to hit here. It gives me this option. It's not doing anything until I start talking, but what it's going to do is it's going to preview what's going on at the same time, so I can kind of judge how long to talk for to fit my narration to a particular thing. So here we go. This is Mr. Morgan, and I'm recording over the fact that this was our year 10 trip to Lake Maroon in October this year. Okay, and I've stopped that at that point, and it's basically telling me it's going to call this narration number 1, and it's given me the time and the date of when I actually recorded it. Now I could call it anything I wanted to, but for now that's fine by me. I'm going to leave it at that. It's going to put it in the same folder that everything else has been going in, so I'm going to hit save. You can see now that alongside my my text and my titles and my song, I've now got this extra one called narration. And if I actually play it back, this is Mr. Morgan, and I'm recording over the fact that this was our year 10 trip to Lake Maroon in October this year. Okay, now the last thing before I actually save this again and then turn it into some sort of video is making sure that the balance of the audio sounds correct. And what I can do is I can go back into my music project options, and inside here I've got the thing here which says emphasis. Now emphasize basically means make one of those more prominent than the other. So if I want my narration to be the most prominent thing, I click on here, and that should make a difference when I play back. I move back to the beginning again and see if I hear my voice is slightly louder now than the actual sound of the Beyonce singing. This is Mr. Morgan, and I'm recording over the fact that this was our year 10 trip to Lake Maroon in October this year. and you can see that that actually did do that. So I've got some other options here. If I wanted the music to sound louder than my voice, I'd choose this one, and if I'd kept the audio from the video clips themselves, I'd choose this one. And that's pretty much all I need to do now. I'm going to save my work, and at this point I would decide how I'm going to output it. So under this option here, I've got a few ways of doing it. I can either go to save movie over here, or I can go over here and I can go to publish movie or save movie over here. It makes no difference particularly. I will do it from this one over here just to show you. Now, going off the screen, you can't see them all. There's a whole bunch of different things I can turn them into depending upon how I want to actually play them back. Probably for you it's going to be this setting for computer, but it could be the recommended one for this project. Now if I hover over that, it's telling me that it's going to set it as a 1920 by 1080 pixels, and it's going to go for 24 megabits per second. That's a really high quality, but basically because the video was in high definition, it's offering me to turn this video into a high definition output. I'm actually going to choose this for computer option, which is a much smaller one, and I'm going to hit that. It's now going to give me the option of saving it. I'm going to put it back in the same folder, which is on my desktop, called Windows Live Movie Maker, and I'm going to leave the same title, Year 10 Camp. I might just add 2013 on the end of it, and it's putting it into this MPEG quality. I could choose Windows Media Video. It's up to me which one I go for. Windows Media Video will probably work anywhere, but this new one, H.264, is a really nice quality but not too big. So I'm going to choose that one. I'm going to hit save, and all it's going to do is it's going to go through this and it's going to create the movie for me. Now the longer the movie, the longer it takes to create the video file, and the same thing if you've got a good quality computer, it works quicker than an old one. This is quite a fancy new computer I'm using. It's done it very quickly for me, even though it was high definition video, and it's now given me this option of basically saying, do I want to open the folder where it's been saved, or do I just want to play it directly? I'm just going to show you where the folder is just first of all, just to make sure that you can see that what I said at the very beginning of this video is true, that everything has to be saved within this same video. So you'll see now that it's added the narration audio in for me. This is the original project file I saved it with, and this is the latest one that's created. This is the finished video. So if I double click the finished video, it should open it for me into Windows Movie Maker.
This is Mr. Morgan, and I'm recording over.
Let's get it to a size that you can see it.
Trip to
Okay, so that's enough of that one, I think. And that's what you need to do to use Movie Maker to create your own school projects. Good luck with that.